All right, boys and girls, hope you did a great job on your handwriting. We're going to move on and work on some of our phonics and our readers. So you're going to definitely need this reader. This is the I Do Read Book 3. Now, this was in the first packet of work, but we haven't really had a chance to read it together. I'm sure you've been reading it to mom and dad, maybe brother, sister, and that's fine, but I want to read it together with you. So this was the reader, I Do Read Book 3, and we'll eventually get to that new reader. I hope you have had a chance to look at your new packet that mom and dad picked up on Friday of some new pages. Again, mom and dad, those pages probably aren't in any kind of order. They're just kind of bundled together according to handwriting, math, and phonics, and I did put a new reader. I didn't add any new tricky words in there. We're just going to keep going off that one sheet that we had from the first packet. Boys and girls, today, before we go to our reader, I have a little poster I want to share with you, and I call these little E words. Can you show me using your hand what little is? And now show me big. All right, remember opposite, little, big. Well, these I like to call little E words, and I have some little I and little O words. But as we read, mom and dad, you'll probably see there's so many different strategies we use reading, vowels, of course, magic E, tricky words. And this is just, we would go through these, just kind of a little extra practice. Boys and girls, when we read through these, they're little, I call these little E words. There's only 2 letters. It's going to make the long E sound, be, he, me, and we. All right, and we see these oftentimes when we're reading. I call these little I words. Little I, is, if, it. This one is a little different. Those we sounded out short. It, is, if, but this one is H with a long I, high. But we often see that too when we're talking and maybe writing a note to somebody and we say hi. And then little O words, go, no, tricky word to, so, and then tricky word of. And these are just little, a fun way we'd probably go through these, just practicing, calling them little E, little I, and little O words, just for a little extra practice on those words. All right, so let's make sure you have your reader. If you remember, on Friday, we read through a few pages together. Hopefully, again, you're reading these pretty well with me because you've had this reader for a couple of weeks. So when we read The Big Boat, maybe you sounded them out marking the vowels, and that was okay. But you've had it a couple of weeks, so you should be able to read that pretty well. We read about Kate with the cat, and Joe with the big game. All right, so that's what we did on Friday, and hopefully you read through there. Today, I want to do 3 more. We're only going to read 3. We're not going to read the whole reader, just kind of like on homework days. Remember, you kind of read as much as you can, but we're only going to read 3. And when we look at this one today, we see a community helper that we talked about. It's been a while, but we even made a mailbox to go with it. Do you remember that community helper? That was a mailman, if you remember talking to that. We made our mailboxes and we made letters to our friends and mom and dad, a picture. So when I look at the title, and again, you've probably already read through this, so you might be faster than me. And if you mark the vowels, that's okay too. Tricky word, the, mail. All right. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to read these, and I want you to read along with me. You can use your pointer if you need to. Make sure you're tracking it as we read. Mail. Maybe Miss Paris better get her glasses on. Mail it on time, Matt. I see the mailman. Now that is 2 words put together. They put a little slash to show you that that was 2 words. We took the word mail, took the word man, and made mailman. The man cannot wait. Yell at the man, Matt. And if you saw that exclamation point, you read that with some excitement. Yell at the man, Matt. The mailman got the mail. All right, so hopefully I didn't read that too fast, boys and girls. I know you're reading right along with me, getting those words. And after we read that, we want to think about the story. Do you know who got the mail in that story, boys and girls? Who got the mail? You should be saying the mailman. The mailman got the mail. And who called for the mailman to wait? Who was the boy in the story yelling for him to wait? Yes, you should be saying Matt. Matt in the yellow shirt there. All right, so Mom and Dad, just like, not a very big story, but we still can talk through and ask a couple of comprehension questions after we read. All right, let's move on. We got a little kitty cat here. We even see his name on the dish. All right, give me another thumbs up if you have a cat. I think we've talked about this before. Some of you might have a cat. This cat's name, it's right here on the dish, Puff. Puff. Again, 2 F's, but we still just make that 1 F sound, just like we do when we see those 2 L's. Those 2 letters, but 1 sound. Puff, and it's the title of our story, Puff. All right, so let's get our pencil, or our pointer. The boy's name is going to start our sentence. We don't see the boy, but we are going to read his name. Here we go. John got a big cat. John will name his cat Puff. The cat can lap its meal. 2 vowels in that word. Lap, lap, lap. There's an exclamation point. Lap, lap, lap. John can pet Puff. And that's what we see in the picture, John petting. Let's pretend we're a cat. Can you show me how you would lap up milk? Lap, lap, lap. They use their tongue to lap up that milk. All right. And then when we think about the story, what was John's cat's name, boys and girls? Yes, you should be saying Puff. And how's he going to eat that meal? Lap it up. You've probably seen a cat do that. They lap it up, enjoying that meal. All right. Let's read one more story. Take a deep breath. Let it out. And we've got a couple of friends here in the sandbox. All right, in the sandbox. Give me a thumbs up if you like to play in a sandbox. All right. What are some things that you've played and made in the sandbox, in a sand? Have you made a sandcastle? All right, give me a thumbs up. Maybe you've made a tunnel with using sand. All right. Maybe you've made a moat around a sandcastle, especially if you go to the beach. Playing in the sand is fun. But we have 2 boys in our sandbox today. Their names are in the title, and we're going to figure out who is who as we read through our story. Dave and Tim. All right, again, you've probably read through this a few times, so maybe I'm going too slow for you, boys and girls. As we read through, let's find out what's going on in the sandbox. Dave is big, but Tim is not. So that was a big clue right there on which one is Dave. If Dave is big, we know he is the one right here, right? With the reddish, orangish t-shirt on. He is big. Tim is not. Got to take the clues from what we're reading. Tim is just a tot. You might not have heard that word tot before. It's kind of a short for toddler. Some of you have like a brother, sister, 1 or 2 years old, and we call that a toddler. So they're just saying tot for short, a toddler. He's a tot. Tim likes to sit in his sandbox. All right. Again, we see another time where there was 2 words. They put that slash there to show us. We took the word sand. We took the word box. We put them together, though, and it makes something brand new called a sandbox. All right. And then Dave will help him dig in the sand. All right. Again, as you read through these, boys and girls, make sure you're following along. We see periods at the end. Mom and Dad, those are all different things that we would talk about as we read through there. Also, boys and girls, we want to think about that again. Now, if you were listening to the story, what was the name of the big brother? The big one, he's big. That was Dave. And what does he help Tim do, if you remember? That last sentence told us, dig in the sand. All right, those are some clues as we read through there, thinking about what we read. We don't want to just read words. We want to make sure that we're processing and thinking through as we read. All right, and again, these 2 words, we had 2 of them again today in our paper. We had 2 words where they took words that we already know. They took the word male and they took the word man. We know those 2 words, male, man. But when we put them together, they made something brand new called a mailman. You know, mail is what we have in the box. We know a man. But when we put them together, we made something new called a community helper, called a mailman. All right, that's kind of fun to do with words. We'll do one more, and there's a lot of them we could do. When the next story we saw this one, we saw the word sand, and we saw the word box. We know what sand is, of course, playing in a sandbox or beach. And then a box, we know what a box is. But when we put them together and we make them into one word, we make a sandbox, which is something we might have in our backyard or somewhere where there is some sand like we see at the park, sandbox. Now, Mom and Dad, if we're reading through that, we can always take and have them cover up part of the word and read it sand, and then uncover box and sandbox, if that gets a little confusing. Sometimes it is just because it's a big word, but they definitely can read those 2 words. It just makes something new as we read through those. All right, so today we read through the male, Puff, and Dave and Tim. All right, and now you also got your brand new reader on Friday. It is the next one, of course. I do read book 4, and we will get to that one. If you're going to you can go ahead and start reading in it. That's awesome. You can go ahead and start marking the vowels in it if you need to. You'll see that there is a tricky word that we have already learned in that new reader. It is this tricky word. Remember that one? Says. Mom says we need to do our work. Dad says we need to do our work. And you can be practicing reading through that so that by the time we get to read it together here on the video, that you are reading it pretty well. All right. But right now we are still reading what I call our old reader, the reader that came home in that first packet, Mom and Dad, this one. We're going to continue reading this week on the video. All right. We've had plenty of time to practice that at home, so we should be able to read it pretty quickly with Miss Paris. Mom and Dad, that's probably one of the hardest things, obviously, for me to check and make sure they're staying up on is the fluency. They need to be reading as they would talk, and that just takes a lot of practice. And so rereading those readers is super helpful to work on that. After they've sounded it out, marked them, then they should be able to pick up on that reading and read it a little quicker. Mail it on time, Matt, so that it's reading, not a lot of breaking up as they read through that. So let's keep working on our reading. We want to become a better reader, boys and girls, and if we're going to be a better reader, what do we have to do? You know I say it all the time. We have to practice. Practice makes progress. Remember, that's no matter what we do, whether it's reading, soccer, playing baseball, gymnastics, practice makes progress. All right. Your phonics page, again, 67 and 68. More just working with words, more sounding out, more marking pictures. Again, extra practice on those. Reading through, always helpful as we're reading through letters and words. On the back is kind of a fun part. It is, again, where we have to figure out which letter. We've done this several times, but boys and girls, after you figure that out, you get to draw a picture to go with it. So that's always fun to do too. So you can figure out which letter would make a word, boff or box, and then make a picture. And we've done this before. I know we did this last week too, but it's just a little extra fun word work as we're reading through. This helps us that when we get to this, that we are quicker about sounding out and getting those words locked in our brain. We just want to make sure we're continuing to keep up those reading skills. All right, so boys and girls, you continue practice on your old reader, new reader, work on your word work, and again, we'll come back in a little bit and work on our math.